Hello everybody, welcome to the NG Theatre, day 2, Hydrogen Day, and we hope people are going to turn up because PSDS is kind of done. We've got people here with the scars to show. First on we've got Sally, who will then move to the workshop. So if you like what Sally's got to tell you, and if you're nice to Sally, she might get you hydrogen to your site, but only if you're nice to her. And she'll be at the workshops where you can have a chat to her face to face afterwards. So it's well worth a chat to her. So when Sally's finished schmoozing with Lorna, she'll be on to trot her feet for you. Come on, Sally. I gave you the big intro.
Thanks, Clive. Can you all hear me? Do I have to get very close? Right. Well, delighted to see you. I'm Sally Brewis. I work for Cadent and I'm head of regional development and I cover the East and London, and my job is to effectively work out where we need to put our very first 100% hydrogen pipelines. So as you'll know, hydrogen is a really strong option in some cases for the decarbonisation of heavy industry, heavy commercial users of natural gas. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Cadent, our regional hydrogen programmes, and then I'm going to do a deep dive into the East and London. So Cadent then, we are the UK's largest distribution network for gas, 12 million supply points, and we cover basically about half the country. And we've got thousands and thousands of kilometres of natural gas pipelines. We're keeping people warm, we're keeping businesses going, but of course we have to decarbonise. We can't continue to burn unabated gas, so that's where hydrogen comes in. So hydrogen then, well, government is hugely supportive, so the Tories and the Conservatives are and the Labour Party are hugely supportive of hydrogen. So in the recent party conferences, there was a lot of focus on hydrogen as a decarbonisation option. And over the past several years, there's been many publications come out from government showing the role that hydrogen will play. So, as I said, hydrogen will be used to decarbonise heavy industry and power generation, heavy transport, and potentially might be used in residential heat, so we might use it in our homes and boilers. That decision will be made in 2026 as to whether hydrogen is used in our homes or not, and that will have quite a big impact on the reach of hydrogen. So our focus at the moment is heavy industry and commercial. But after 2026 and that decision, it might be that we're starting to roll out hydrogen to entire towns, which obviously makes it much easier to access those businesses that are in city centres. There's a lot of words on that slide that you don't really need to read. All you really need to know is that we have a hydrogen strategy. Government is supportive of boosting hydrogen production and supporting that. And crucially for the NHS and any heavy gas user, government has is working on a hydrogen production business model, which means that hydrogen, the price you pay for it, will be parity with natural gas. That's the most important thing on that slide. So Cadent's strategy is to transition our networks to 100% hydrogen. We want hydrogen to be everywhere. And we've started by breaking our patch down into 5 main regional schemes. A lot of these schemes are collaborations with other gas networks, so you can see the very big one there, East Coast Hydrogen, which is one that I lead on, covers the East Midlands for Cadent, but it covers the North East for NGN, the gas distribution network there, and we also have National Gas involved, who are the transmission provider. And so by breaking our patch down into regional programs, we can look specifically at the needs at the production centres, the customers in those regions, and neatly package up our work. So our 2 flagship schemes are HyNet in the northwest and East Coast Hydrogen in the east. These are the 2 schemes that are the most far advanced. HyNet Northwest is almost through, well, in fact, it is through the design stage, and so it's now about consenting and construction. And my colleague David Briggs will be telling people more about HyNet later if you wish to hear about that. And then on the east, you have East Coast Hydrogen. So you might not know this, but the Humber is a centre of very heavy industrialisation, and it has lots of natural assets that make it a brilliant place for making low carbon hydrogen. If you don't know how low carbon hydrogen is made, there are loads of ways you can make it in a low carbon way, but the main ways are either by splitting hydrogen from natural gas. You then can use the hydrogen and you can store the CO2 byproduct in disused oil and gas fields. Or you can make green hydrogen, which is electrolytic hydrogen. So you use renewable energy to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. So the Humber is a centre for heavy industrial activity, but also a centre for very large-scale hydrogen production. But there is a string of industry really across northern Lincolnshire, down into Nottingham and Derby. And we've talked to customers in this region and found that there's a tremendous amount of demand from industry from hydrogen. So there's 16 terawatt hours per year of hydrogen demand that we know of so far. That's from 160 sites across the East Midlands region and South Yorkshire. So the pipeline, the very first stages of this pipeline will be constructed between 2028 and 2031. And we are really interested to talk to hospitals who are interested in hydrogen that are based along this route, so that we can talk to you about your specific site needs and understand how we might be able to get hydrogen to your site. So I'm now zeroing in on East London. So we have a programme called Capital Hydrogen, which covers the whole of the east of England and North London. And because Bacton, which is the main production centre in this region, which is out on the coast of North Norfolk, because it's not a heavily industrialised area, there is industry in the east of England, but it's more dispersed. In this region, it will be a case of, or we know one component will be the repurposing of a national gas pipeline from Bacton out on the coast in Norfolk down into London. But that won't happen until 2030. We don't want to wait until then. We know that our customers need hydrogen sooner than that. And that's why we are developing hotspots in this region. So these are areas where there's heavy demand, heavy either production or supply potential. So in this case, it's through imports. And so we're looking to develop shorter sections of pipeline to connect the supply and demand. East London is just one hotspot across the East of England region. There are also potential hotspots in the Felixstowe and Harwich area, and also up in Lowestoft and Norwich. So talking about the East London hydrogen pipeline then, effectively, as I said before, there will be some hydrogen produced in Thurrock, but there will also be some hydrogen imported. It could even be imported from within the UK. It will be moved as a carrier, basically. It won't be moved as a gas, LOHC, liquid organic hydrogen carrier. So lots of sources of hydrogen in Thurrock, and also lots of heavy industry all along the north bank of the Thames into London. So Tate and Lyle Sugar Refinery on the bank of the Thames is the final destination. So this is a sort of hotspot that is springing up in other regions. I've got a discussion with a lady from Norwich Hospital later this month to talk about how the Bacton development could potentially benefit her hospital, for example. So just because you can't see your area on this map, on the slides that I've showed you today, doesn't mean that there isn't activity going on looking at opportunities. These are the ones that have reached design stage effectively, but there's loads going on across the Cadent region. So when we get forecasts from customers, potential hydrogen customers for hydrogen, or producers or storage providers, because we're effectively building this market together, we invite them into our consortium group. So you can see on the slide there just some of the brand names that are involved in our big programs. So in East Coast Hydrogen, you've got companies like Boots, you've got all the breweries, Molson Coors, Carlsberg Marston's, you've got flexible power generators like Mercia, you've got brick companies like Forterra, Ibstock Brick, but also within our pipeline design, we've also considered how we can potentially get hydrogen into city centres to where hospitals are. So, and then at the bottom there you've got the current consortium members for Capital Hydrogen, which is the East London Hydrogen Pipeline, but this is growing all the time. So that's the end of my slides pretty much. I think the best thing to do if you're interested in hydrogen, if you have an interest in the regions that Cadent covers, or even outside, to be honest, then please come and talk to me. I can, if your project or your need isn't within the Cadent patch, I'm working closely with all of the gas distribution networks, so I can connect you to other people who might be able to help. There are these kind of regional programs going on across the country. So I just wanted to open it up to any questions now, if anybody has any. Hello. So I don't know if anyone heard the question, but it's are you connected with the hydrogen, the production at Felixstowe, Harwich, and yeah. So both those locations are within the Capital Hydrogen Programme region. Yes, we're working directly with the Freeport of Felixstowe and Harwich. They're a consortium member, and also was it Lowestoft as well? Yeah. So we're yeah, that's within our patch, and we're happy to have further conversations about those areas. Hello.
You mentioned about cost comparison with natural gas. If there was a switch, how would that work in the future? Would it be a temporary switch, comparable cost, or would you price match going forward if gas prices drop as increased or whatever?
Yeah, so your question really is about how long will that parity with natural gas price last for effectively? Yeah, so the hydrogen production business model is it's a government program, and it's much like the offshore wind subsidies that have been going on for the last 14 years. So it's a contracts for difference mechanism, and I guess they're the people in control of the scheme. It's ultimately the producers of the hydrogen that decide how much they're going to charge for their hydrogen, but they're receiving subsidies to make sure that they effectively cover the cost of their production, and then the profit side is up to them. So it should work in the same way as wind energy has for the last 14 years effectively.
I'll mooch in a bit, if you can squeeze up next to you. So you can bombard Sally, or you can come through us and through the NH Power thing. We're trying to get everything together. We're also trying to get money together to do the work that's needed on your site to make you hydrogen ready, because you might be close, but you need hydrogen burners, you need certain reconfiguration of the site and the like, and we're aware that we need to get the two bits together at the same place at the same time. But keep your interest going, because we'll only get hydrogen if we all join the queue and ask for it, because there's only so much, and it's going to go to the people who commit to taking it. The subsidy is 15 years is the current plan for the subsidy, so that's what we're working on. Thereafter we'll see how it goes, but parity with gas is a pretty good deal. What will happen is the gas price is going to go up, so if you don't join the hydrogen thing, the gas price, you'll suffer a rising gas price because you're subsidising those that take the hydrogen, but you're not getting the benefit of the hydrogen. So perhaps better just going for the hydrogen and getting yourself done. So Sally's in the workshop in a few minutes, so come along and listen, because we'll have a face-to-face and a bit of a discussion. We also have a map that shows every one of the big hospitals mapped and whether we think you're currently close to hydrogen or not. Stephen, who's over there, will help you with that. And we're trying to gather all the trusts who want hydrogen together, and we're trying to feed it to Sally. And don't tell Sally you want 20% hydrogen, because I'll wring your neck. We want 100% hydrogen, because otherwise you won't give it to us. So if we only go for 20%, we won't be enough load. We've got to go for the 100% deal. That's the only deal in town. The workshop's in that far corner over there. So if you go past where you've checked in, you keep walking to hit the wall, you're next to it.
All right.
Okay. Go on, Sally, what's the secret thing you didn't tell them?
The secret thing I didn't tell them? No, I can't think of one.
You can't think of one?
No,
okay.
sorry.
But we got various politicians and stuff. Who's that politician from Leicester who was so good the other day? He's doling out the business model. We need to get to know him better. Sally organised the East Coast business model, and we had Lord Lucan there.
Oh, Lord Callanan, sorry.
No, not him. He's
and Dharmesh Jadavi, he's head of hydrogen allocation.
He's the one we want. We want him.
Yeah.
We want that man. Yeah.
So Clive's talking about the launch of East Midlands Hydrogen. So East Coast Hydrogen covers this massive South Yorkshire, North East, East Midlands patch. And what we realised, maybe this is the thing this is my secret that I didn't tell earlier. What we've realised is that when you think of the industrial clusters, you're thinking about HyNet, you're thinking about the Humber, you're thinking about Teesside, where we know there's huge amounts of emissions from industry. But what we found when talking to customers in the East Midlands, and by East Midlands I mean Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire, the northern part of Leicestershire, what we found is that there's this huge demand cluster right in the middle of the country. And so this is where you have your brick companies, your minerals processing, so Saint-Gobain, who own British Gypsum, you've got Toyota, Rolls-Royce, you've got the breweries in Burton-Trent, you've got Boots, a chemist. So huge demand, lots of flexible power generation as well. And the interesting thing about Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire and the northern part of Leicestershire is that there's also a huge potential for production of hydrogen, green hydrogen production. And what's really poetic about it is that this region used to be known as Megawatt Valley. So you've got the River Trent Valley, where you have this string of coal-fired power stations, or ex-coal-fired power stations, all along the river. They're there because the coal was there, the water was there, and you needed, therefore, to have these enormous transmission lines built to export the power out to where it was needed in the country. Now, of course, the coal is being phased out. You haven't got many of them left. So Ratcliffe-on-Soar coal-fired power station is, I think, possibly the last. That's being phased out next September. But you still have these massive transmission lines. You still have the river. So you've got all the ingredients you need to make green hydrogen, use the water from the river, and you import renewable energy down these enormous transmission lines. So actually, we've received forecasts to the tune of 650 megawatts of production. That's pretty big. If you just to put that in context, the government wants us to be producing 10 gigawatts of hydrogen by 2030. And so you've got 0.65 of a gigawatt in the middle of the country, so away from those big industrial clusters where we're expecting most of the hydrogen to be made. So that's East Midlands Hydrogen. So we launched that as a cluster, really to get the focus from government and the regulator on that region. You know, it's not just about the industrial clusters. We need to get this infrastructure, these pipelines going all the way out into the middle of the country, because there's huge demand, and also it turns out huge production potential as well. So thank you for the plug, Clive. Does anyone else have any questions before I leave the stage? If not, you can always come and find me later.
It's your only answer if you've got steam. If you want to keep steam, you've got to have hydrogen. Otherwise, it's low temperature hot water for you guys. And that's lovely. It's a very nice thing, but it's quite expensive to get rid of steam. So anyway, we've got people here, experts at getting rid of steam. So if you need help, just ask.
Okay, right.
Okay, we'll see you at the workshop shortly.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks, everybody.